In my Drifting Amalgams universe, the fictional Umfacrumpf Nation has several semi-autonomous stellar states. The people on these space stations regularly visit the planet's surface, so naturally I had to design a realistic sci-fi spaceship to transport them. Pretty easy, I figured. The space shuttle has successfully transported people for the International Space Station. Why not reimagine that spaceship design? But I can't tweak a design that I don't understand. So I'm digging into some space shuttle features to envision everyday travel into orbit. Hi, I'm Casey Hudson and I write sci-fi novels. Today I'm creating a fictional space hopper. To do that, I'm taking a closer look at the space shuttle design. Join me as I explain how I transition space transport science into spaceship fiction. There are many reasons I like using NASA's space shuttle as a guide. For starters, it was the world's first reusable spacecraft. I need a spaceship design that functions a lot like public transport, so reuse potential is a must. I also need a craft that can function in and out of atmosphere. As a cross between a rocket, a spacecraft, and an airplane, the space shuttle is well designed for this need. Looking at the space shuttle design, there are three sections that assist in the functionality of the spacecraft. While the orbiter houses the crew, the other two sections are reserved for fuel and rocket boosters. Since I want it to be a realistic sci-fi spaceship, the space hopper I'm creating will have these three aspects. However, the narrative of my story favors character experience rather than equipment operation. So, at least for now, I'm going to focus on how the space shuttle's orbiter section can be adapted for my purposes. The space shuttle doesn't just land like an airplane. The orbiter is the size and weight of one as well. Specifically, it's the size of a DC-9 aircraft, which holds about 100 passengers. Compare this with the space shuttle, which is typically crewed by 5 to 7 people, and you may begin to wonder why the space shuttle can't house a larger crew. Where a DC-9 delivers people to their destination in hours, the space shuttle delivers them in days. And in all that time in between, space shuttle crew are sleeping, working, stowing gear, attending to hygiene, and even eating at a table. Additionally, there is a docking module and a transfer tunnel. These can be fitted to transfer crew and equipment to a dock, the space lab, or the exterior of the spacecraft. To envision my realistic sci-fi spaceship, I'm going to lean into the idea that the interior of the Umfacrumpf space hopper is like a DC-9. The space hopper won't favor work efficiency and longer distance travel. Instead, it'll be used to transport as many passengers as possible. Since my spaceship design is for a passenger craft, I also need to think about the operators of the space hopper. On the space shuttle, the two-level crew module has a forward flight deck. In it, the commander's seat is positioned beside the pilot's seat. I like this configuration, but the society I'm designing for is more deeply embedded in a digital age than this. So I'll keep the seats and configuration, but I'll have the crew only get involved if there's a failure. Otherwise, AI will guide the vessel to and from the ship's destination. Speaking of failure though, there's another space shuttle aspect that I think I'll copy. The space shuttle contains spacesuits and handrails so astronauts can perform repairs or deal with emergencies. Though all crew and passengers will wear spacesuits aboard the craft, I'll have emergency suits and a handrail for emergencies and repairs. In addition to a functional interior, a realistic sci-fi spaceship should have reasonable systems for propulsion and thrust, power, navigation, communication and data handling, thermal management, and environmental control. These essential systems for spaceship design will help tether the space hopper concept to my narrative. Where the space shuttle is powered by batteries, for example, I've chosen solar-powered systems for the Umfacrumpf space hopper. The renewability of this idea matches a broader societal value that I've given to the Umfacrumpf Nation: efficient use of all available resources. Similarly, the Umfacrumpf Nation's fear of outsiders is reflected in both the communication systems and defensive capabilities. Short-distance communication capabilities are standard, but they're only designed to reach on-surface hubs and nearby stations. This prevents communication with any nearby vessels. Concerning in an emergency situation, but cultural isolation is more important to this government. Relatedly, Umfacrumpf hasn't made many friends in the universe, and their insular nature can be misunderstood. In case of an attack, these vehicles have been heavily shielded against all known weapons. Defenses, as well as navigation, are automated, but manual override can be engaged in case of emergency. Controls are available via touchpad. However, because of the government's distrust of outside forces, anyone initiating manual control undergoes extensive questioning when they reach their scheduled destination. While the technical specs are similar to the Space Shuttle, the Umfacrum Space Hopper is a technology adapted to the needs and wants of its user. Until next time, stay curious.